Ben McKee, Patrick Brown here on campus on Monday of Vanderbilt week. Shout out to Jason Swain with our No-Huddle here on a Monday. Just spoke to Josh Heupel, spoke to Ollie Lane, spoke to Ramel Keaton. Josh Heupel, it was more of a injury update than an actual press conference. I guess the highlight is Javonte Spraggins will miss the remainder of the season with a knee injury that he suffered in the win over, or the loss to Georgia on Saturday. Hopeful that Gerald Mincey and John Campbell will be ready to go from the start of the football game. We'll see if that actually happens. But unfortunate situation for Javonte Spraggins, who was playing some good football and was actually playing fairly well against Georgia on Saturday too.
Yeah, and it was just sort of a wrong place at the wrong time kind of deal. He's looking the other way, and Dane Davis and his guy are blocking, and they just fall into his knee. And Javonte, I think, is a pretty popular guy for the team. He's a lot of energy, plays really hard all the time, and he's a guy that was, this is going to be this is his senior year. So does that change his calculation on what he's going to do next season? That was another talking point today with it being senior day on Saturday. Obviously, Tennessee has a lot of seniors, a lot of guys that can come back next season, and Tennessee's going to need to know what those guys are doing if they're going to come back, because that's a big part of roster management and setting things up for next season. So that was the other big part of today's talking point, and obviously Spraggins is a guy whose injury you wonder if he's not able to go through the NFL stuff, is he going to come back? So we'll have to see. That's obviously way out in the distance, but it's tough to see for him getting hurt.
Yeah, and obviously the secondary is as banged up as the offensive line room right now. Jordan Thomas, Tamarion McDonald, Wesley Walker, those are kind of the main three right now, on top of Kamal Hadden already being out for the season. Josh Heupel said that they're hopeful all three will be able to play on Saturday, but said that Wesley Walker is more questionable than the other two, and I don't think that was a coincidence that he said that.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see Walker, and we'll have to see if they change anything up, because McDonald warms up and they can't go, and then Jordan Thomas gets hurt on the first play of the game. I think he lasted two plays.
Series.
It was early. He tried to tackle Brock Bowers, and I think he came out to play later, and they had to go to Will Brooks, who was a walk-on, and I don't know if you can get a guy ready to play that position in a week. That's pretty tough, but for one of those young guys that are back in the secondary. So, but yeah, those are two positions that are really beat up. Obviously, Andre Turrentine started for Wesley Walker. I would assume he would start again, probably against Vanderbilt. But that star position is an important spot, and they need to, if they can get McDonald back, I think that would be a huge help for them, but we'll see.
Yeah, and speaking to Ollie Lane, going back to the offensive line, asked him about who are some young guys that we haven't seen play this year to keep an eye out on for next year, because the offensive line is in a weird flux at the moment, where you have a bunch of guys who can come back and the line won't look much different next year, but also those guys could choose to leave and it will look much different. And if that is the case, Ollie Lane talked about Addison Nichols, Vyson Lang, and he also shouted out
he mentioned everybody pretty much.
He mentioned mostly everybody. Also mentioned Mo Clipper,
Larry Johnson,
and Larry Johnson III. So those are some interesting names I thought he threw out.
Yeah, and that's a developmental position. It's a weird situation, right? Because those guys might need a couple years. Addison Nichols, it's only his second year. Lang and Johnson, those are guys that have been here since January, so and that needed development time. So are they going to be ready to step into a starting spot next season if Cooper Mays goes to the NFL? We don't know. And so that, again, those questions about what those seniors are going to do, Campbell, Cooper, Spraggins, who knows what Gerald Mincey may do, that's going to determine how active Tennessee might need to be in the transfer portal with the offensive line. So, and they might need to bring in 2 starters or 3 or 4, depending on who comes back and who doesn't. But that's obviously a developmental position, and Tennessee needs some of those young guys to keep coming on.
And lastly, Tennessee does play a football game on Saturday against the Commodores, and I loved Ramel Keaton's answer when I asked him about how confident he is guys will be ready to play, and he was spot on. You can either lose 3 tough games in a row, or you can play for pride right now and win your last home game, and it's Vanderbilt. So he was confident that they're going to be ready to play.
Yeah, he was basically like, you can't lose to Vanderbilt, is more or less what he said, and that's...
He's right.
Yeah, you think it's bad losing to Missouri by 29 and Georgia by 28. You lose to Vanderbilt, and it can get lose to 21, lose by 21 to Mexico State. Shout out Auburn. It can get a lot worse. So Tennessee has to make sure it doesn't get a lot worse and handle their business weekend.
Absolutely. Tennessee and Vanderbilt 3:30 on Saturday on the SEC Network. We'll have plenty of coverage all week on this Thanksgiving week. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. He's Patrick Brown. I'm Ben McKee.